Nokia is back. Yeah, you heard that name right. The same company that made that indestructible snake machine back before the days of mobile porn is back. Most companies jump on the scene by putting all of their development efforts into releasing a single phone, trying to stir up some interest. But Nokia, on the other hand, plans to release not one, but 7 phones in the near future. I had asked Nokia why they had decided to produce so many, and the response was simply, shoot or shoot. What's going on, everybody? My name is Kerry Bauman, and today I'm feeling a little nostalgic. It's been 17 years since you were T9ing text to your middle school crush on that old Nokia 3310, but Nokia's finally snaked its way into the Android game. For about $230 on Amazon, 2 days later the Nokia 6 will be at your doorstep. Let's take a look at what you get. So for $230, Nokia obviously had to cut some corners to keep costs low, but one corner they didn't cut was giving the device a premium feel. The body was milled from one piece of aluminum, and it feels like a tank in the hand. While the footprint is no larger than the HTC U11 or the OnePlus 5, it's actually a bit thinner than the Galaxy S8, but it feels so much bigger. The corners are sharp as opposed to being more curved like on other phones, making this one feel so much bigger in the hand. But you know Daddy likes them curvy. I mean, you can actually stand this phone on its sides. The screen is another aspect of this phone that really impressed me for the cost. You get a 5.5-inch 1080p LCD display that, while not a competitor to the big dogs, it's no chump. Like the majority, the brightness isn't all there in direct sunlight, but indoors, whether you're gaming, watching videos, or surfing Reddit, the display should leave you more than satisfied. The speaker is on par with all the others in this incestuous pool of downward-facing speakers on the market today, and the speaker on front acts as a loudspeaker at times, though it's pretty quiet. It has expandable storage, a headphone jack, a decent-sized battery, all which are positives for a $230 phone. And the software experience? It's exactly what you've been asking for. Bare bones, stock Android. And when I say bare bones, I mean this is a skeleton of stock Android. Absolutely nothing additional. Not really any shortcuts or gestures, and no fingerprint sensor or capacitive button customization, but honestly I'm okay with that. We're all used to these in-your-face skins that companies put on their phones with features we don't need. Well, this is as minimalistic as you're going to find, and any customization that you're going to want on top of it can likely be found in the App Store. And I'm actually encouraged. Usually when you have a budget device, you make a sacrifice with having an outdated OS, but the Nokia 6 is running the very latest version of Android 7.1, and with it being completely stock, updates should come in a timely manner. So where are these aforementioned corners that were cut? Certainly not from the edges of the body. Starting off, they replaced the USB-C port with a micro USB. There's no LED notification light, something I assumed was standard on every phone since the original 3310. Some other things I'll nitpick, like the buttons being a bit too high or too close together, having to reach a mile away to turn the volume up, and with it being nearly impossible to feel the difference between the volume and power. The fingerprint sensor is not the fastest, and the camera bump is pretty big, meaning this thing rocks harder than Led Zeppelin. And the specs, well, they're pretty much as low as you're going to find on any smartphone in 2017. 3 gigs of RAM paired with a Snapdragon 430 is underwhelming. For the most part, it runs decently smooth. You can play some games and not notice any lag. And yes, even Snake works just fine. And make sure you close out your apps on a regular basis, because once you really start to overload this thing, you're definitely going to notice some lag here and there. I think my biggest wish would have been a slight bump from the Snapdragon 430. When it comes to battery life, it's equipped with a 3000 mAh battery. Pair that with a 1080p screen, a very low-end processor, and this thing should be a beast, right? Well, it's decent. After some heavy use, averaging the screen on time and percent battery life remaining each night, this thing posted a very respectable 5 hours and 10 minutes. Putting that in 4th place on our leaderboard, but above some very good phones. And when charging the phone for a half hour, typically you would get about a 30% battery life gain. It's not as good as some of the best phones on the market, but it's impressive considering it's about $400 cheaper than some of them. And lastly, the camera, the front and back tag team of the 8 and 16 megapixel shooters respectively. The smaller pixel size and the smaller aperture of the rear camera means that it's not the best on the market, or even close to it. But I mean, it's alright. The front camera only being 8 megapixels is a bummer. The lack of optical image stabilization is also a bummer. It records in 1080p, but only at 30 frames per second, but it's decent. My biggest complaint would be the interface, having to reach all the way up to the top to switch between anything. That could use a makeover. So what are my overall thoughts? Well, there are a lot of big things Nokia got right, and a lot of little things that Nokia got wrong. But if $200 and some change is all the bread you can spread, this could be the best phone you can get. Compared to its competitors, you get by far the best build quality of the bunch, a decent screen, and a quality software experience. So let me know what you would think. If you were on a budget, is this the phone you would get? Something else? Post it down below. So if you want to buy the phone, I left my personal Amazon link down in the description. So if you want to support your third favorite YouTuber, click on that link before you buy it, and Amazon might throw me a few bucks. But that's pretty much all I have to say about the Nokia 6. Again, thank you guys so much for stopping by. Before you go, please hit that subscribe button, and hopefully we'll see you in another one. Cheers. So if 200 and change is all the bread you can spread, all the stone you own, all the loot you can shoot, all the dough you can throw, all the cash in your stash, all the scratch you can match, all the cheese you can seize, all the lettuce you can get us, all the chips on your hips, all the cake you can rake, all the guap you can drop,